Okay, welcome to Lakesides Garage. Here we are, another Wednesday day. We're doing these a little bit ahead of time so we have some daylight. And of course, nothing's running, but we started out last week going through some of the containers and people seem to like it. So we're gonna just feature some of the stuff that we've got laying around here. First, I want to thank everybody for watching and mention that, once again, that we're doing this in an effort to bring awareness to the Historical Construction Equipment Association and the National Construction Equipment Museum in Bowling Green, Ohio, and encourage people to join if you haven't already. A lot of people have. Thank you for that. But or if you know people that like this kind of stuff, get them. It's a good thing to join to support the museum. We're getting ready to build a new museum, and we need as much support as we can get. Our membership's climbing. We're financially in good shape, but of course, to be a major deal, we're building a state-of-the-art museum. We've got to have a lot of members, and even corporate members. A lot of companies, excavators have gotten into it. Ohio Cat. We were going through this summer some of the major supporters that help us out, and that goes a long ways. Corporate memberships are $500 a year. Individual memberships in the United States is $35, but and we welcome any support we can get. So thank you for that, and let's get on with this. We're standing here by a 1939 6 FDT Euclid bottom dump hauler, and according to fellow HCEA member Roger Amato, this is the oldest known bottom dump in existence, and we're going to tell you a little bit about it. Of course, Joe, here if we concentrate on the wagon, this one had been converted into a water wagon. They did this with a lot of these, so they've got an enclosed top on it that would normally be open, and then the bottom they put a containment area there, but it should have doors that would come up to about here. And so our intentions are we want to put this back to a bottom dump truck. It doesn't run now. We want to get it running. We bought this from the Jeff Huff. He's another fellow HCA member, and he had an auction. We bought this from the auction up in New York, come out of his museum. And it's a nice looking ornament, but we want to make it operable. So what it needs is doors, of course, open that top up. And then these Euclids used to have a setup that went here, mounted here, and it would drive off of this wheel, but that would be for reeving the cable up that would bring the doors back up after you dump. So we bought another unit that has a Euclid, just a Euclid bottom dump on it. And we feel we can get we haven't got it home yet, but we want to get the hardware from that and the unit that goes here and make this part of it operable. Now, let's go look at the engine, Joe. Now, we had talked last week about that H model Cummins that we bought for the train. This is another H model, and this has got the original disc style fuel pump. Now, when we got this thing, I thought, well, possibly it's been stuck, but maybe it isn't stuck too bad. Here, let's come around the other side. The ID plate for this motor is on the other side. Now, Joe, if you focus right here, normally, most anybody that knows the Cummins engine, the ID tag is here, but this is some timing information. And it's the first Cummins that I've ever seen that has the tag on the other side. And let's walk around and look at that. That's pretty cool in itself, I think. See, this engine, here's the engine tag. I don't know how much of it you can read on that, but it's got a 5-digit serial number, 25963, and then it's HBID, that's the model number. The last patent date on this tag is 1926. So now this truck is a 39, but I would say most likely this is probably the motor that came in this truck. And like I said, I had never seen a tag. I've been around a lot of Cummins engines and never seen a tag like that one. But like I say, I had taken the intake and exhaust manifolds off and put a bunch of penetrating oil in there, thinking maybe we could loosen it up. And then I took the valve covers off and looked at them, and it's pretty bad in there. So it's got to come off, but it doesn't hurt to have the penetrating oil in there so that this thing will free up. And the oil in the crankcase is nice and clean. I mean, it's brown looking oil. It's nice. It isn't, you know, it's always bad when it's real cloudy or filled with water, but this seems to be pretty good. And the truck is basically all here. Some cosmetics back here, and I think this is going to be a nice truck. It'll be a nice, fun project, and it'll be, you know, this one, it says the Euclid Road Machinery Company on the tag. So
it wasn't until the 1950s that GM bought them out.
Yeah. And if anybody knows of the old Euclid track trucks, we're pretty attached to the Euclid badge because they were built right near here. Of course, started out in Cleveland and then built the big plant in Hudson. And we've been looking for a 30s Euclid track truck that we could restore. And
it's the only time that my wife, when she wants to go to Jo-Ann Fabrics, I'm more than happy to go with her.
Yeah, it's a shame because we go over to Hudson to the old Euclid, which turned into Terex plant, and it's almost a shame. You go in, it's where they used to build the bulldozers is now a big Jo-Ann Fabrics store, so it's almost blasphemy in my book. But hey, Joe, you want to go look at that big Waukesha engine?
Let's go look at the Waukesha. I'll be posting some video as well. A lot of people know we've got into trains lately, big engines, so we'll go take a look at that.
Yeah, here we are at the Waukesha engine. This is a diesel electric set. The diesel engine drives a generator here. And this came out of a hospital in Mansfield, Ohio originally, and we got it from the same place that we bought the switcher locomotive from. So, and this stuff was, you know, has to be gotten rid of, and we didn't want to see it get cut up or anything. So here it is. We don't know if we'll be able to get it running or not. I haven't even put a wrench on it to see if it was stuck or not, but I just thought it looked so cool. We're going to put it in a building and just have it on display if nothing else, but we'll try to get it running. This is a 1960 Waukesha diesel, 8.5 inch bore and 8.5 inch stroke. So it's got some size to it. I think Sam said he figured it was around 2,700 cubic inches, if he figured right. But it's been kind of interesting. We had to snag it out of a building and haul it home. It weighs 25,000 pounds. Now we've got another engine that's coming out of there that's quite a bit heavier that we're going to haul home on Friday. We'll probably look at that thing next week. It's a great big Worthington engine, which we figure weighs right around 35 ton, the engine and generator. So, but we'll know, we'll weigh it between now and then. But here you have it. It's this is going to be in a building, another building that we're going to build. We're going to put up like a big powerhouse and try to get them running eventually.
Now, is the smaller motor on this generator just for the exciter?
That's an exciter for the exciter. It excites the field windings in the generator. Now, I'm not an electrician, but I know that's what we used to run generators like this with this exciter on them. Yeah, this generator makes over 4,000 volts, 4,160 volts. So we would have to go to a big transformer but here you have it. We were going to put a wrench on it this week and see if we could get it to turn over at all, but we haven't done that yet. We're going to get it unloaded tomorrow off this trailer. So there's a big Waukesha. Hopefully we can hear it run one of these days. So Joe, you want to go look at some containers?
Well, let's go back and look at the containers.
All right.
The guys are actually pulling out of the building the Worthington engine that we also bought with the locomotive. Big forklifts we use for moving stuff around.
Okay, welcome back. This is a 1920s vintage Euclid wheeled scraper. It's a 1.5 yard scraper. It used the power from the wheel. You can see the cleats for traction here to run the draw works to pull the bucket up, and then of course it took an operator on the back to run these. I guess you could run them remotely with a cable if they're set up right, but most of the time we just run it with a guy riding on the back and run on the controls. And they worked pretty good. They were pretty popular. These would typically be pulled in tandem, or 3 or even 4 of them. If you had a Cat 60, you could pull quite a few of them, and then you just fill one of them at a time. But this particular scraper has kind of an interesting story. Of course, we're Euclid people, and we really enjoy the old Euclid equipment. So we had one of the, we're looking under with our radar for one of these for quite a few years, and all of a sudden one showed up on eBay, and we wound up, he didn't sell it on eBay, but we wound up talking to the guy at a later date, and he was down in Oklahoma. And he had worked for the unit rig company. Here, can you get that, Joe, or you need a slide? And he told us a story about it. He said when this thing it showed up after Terex had bought the unit rig company, and they had put it out on display in front of their factory, and it was painted the Euclid highlight green at that time. And so he said it stayed on display there for quite a while. And then when Caterpillar bought Unit Rig, they said, get it out of there. And long story short, this guy wound up with it, and then we bought it from him down in Oklahoma. My son Joe and I went down and picked it up, hauled it home, and then we had it sitting there. The only thing that they had done with it is they had welded things solid so it was inoperable, and we made it so that it would operate, cut the welds loose, and got everything operating. And we've used it. We've had it at a show last year, and we run it at our show. Not a lot. You can see we haven't hardly wore the paint off, but we have used it. So anyway, one day we're having an event at our shop, and a friend of ours came in, an older gentleman that had worked at Euclid and Terex, and he came in and he says, Larry, where in the heck did you get that scraper at? He says, I know that's the scraper that myself and some other guys, when we worked at Euclid, and by that time Terex, had rebuilt that scraper, and it was on display at the factory. Well, that was the rest of the story from the guy. The guy in Oklahoma said it came from a factory up in Ohio, and it went to Oklahoma, and then it migrated back to here. And we're only about, 10, 12 miles from the Hudson plant. So it came back to there after an excursion in Oklahoma. So that's kind of an interesting story. And then to just happen to have that guy, and he's still around, and I want to get the names of the guys that rebuilt this thing, because we like to preserve the history and any, stories like that with these machines, so we can follow it for as long as it's in existence. Okay, here we are in another container. And this one is one that we haven't insulated yet. I did talk to our insulator guy and told him we have a few that need to be gone over yet, but it still hasn't been too bad in this one. This Cat 20 we had bought some years ago at the Oscars Dreamland sale, and we got it running. Of course, all his stuff when we got it had no fluids and anything. Apparently they had to store them that way, but and it was painted yellow, so we painted it, probably over 20 years ago. And but we use this to pull our little Euclid rotary scraper. That's about a perfect match for it. This is the one we should have had on instead of that 10 that we tried. But and we haven't had this one out for a couple of years, so this year we're going to have to get this one out and do a little work with it. We like to run them at least every couple of years so they don't we don't have problems with them. And behind it, some people may be interested in that. That's a car we've had for quite a while. That's a 1974 Volkswagen Thing. I believe they only built them for 2 years. And now, though we don't collect many cars, but that's one of the few that we have. And it runs. We haven't run it for a number of years, but it needs to be drug out and finish the restoration on it and get it running again.
Looks like somebody put a date on the windshield, 10/1 of, what is it, 18? Maybe that's when it was moved into the container.
Yeah, could be. But that's another project for down the road. But this Cat 20 runs pretty good. Starts, runs good, everything operates, steers, drives, pretty good shape.
It's even got the side panel still there.
Yeah. Okay, here we are in another container. This one has got farm tractors in it, mostly, and a little roller. But back in the mid-1990s, we started, I think I told the story about buying our first Cat 60 up in Saskatchewan, Canada, way up almost into the bush. And when we were up there, we realized that at that time there was farm tractors everywhere. And so we wound up buying probably 15 or 20, probably at least 20 old farm tractors. And these are some of the ones that we haven't done much with. The one that we're looking at right in front of us, this is a 1929 2035 Alice Chalmers with wheel extensions on it, steel wheels with the extensions. The heads are off of it. We had the heads done. Have not drug it back out and got them put on, but have intentions of getting it out and getting the engine running. The engine does turn over, but it needed head work. So, and then right in front of it is another one identical to it, another 2035 Alice Chalmers. And you probably can't see it, but in the very front of the trailer is a 1836 Hart-Par tractor that also needs rebuilt, but it's all there, and we have a spare transmission for it. And it'll be another project one of these days, but we just haven't worked on them. But here's some of the farm tractors we got. And one of these days we're going to go down to the farm where we have a whole bunch of them. Most of the tractors that we got out of there, we got running and have them in operable condition. One of the tractors we got was a Model L case, and I believe it was a 1939 unstyled one, and it sat here in our junkyard for a long time. We didn't think we'd ever do anything with it. And one of the boys, well, we sold it to a friend of ours, Brian Baxter, and his son has got it running, and it sounds beautiful. And I am so glad that he's got it. He's a good young boy, and he's worked and got that tractor running. And it was at I think it was at our show. Well, it couldn't have been this year, but last year it was at the Burton Engine Show, and he had it running beautifully. And it's just so good to see young people get into stuff and actually do something and get it running. So that was Brian and your son. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. I apologize for that, but if you're listening, thanks for getting that thing running. That made me feel really good. So, okay, Joe. Joe and I decided to come down to the junkyard, and these are some new old stock shovel fronts for Bucyrus Series 15Bs. These were World War II vintage. These have never been mounted on a machine. And I've talked about how you scrounge and find stuff here and there. I found these back in the around 2000 when we were scrounging parts up for our 15B. These were way in the back of a yard up at ACR Equipment up in Cleveland, and they were so trapped in there with so many tons and tons of old booms and cranes and everything, you couldn't even get near them. So it took quite a few years, and then we finally were able to navigate and get back there and finally snag these things out of there. I had told the guys up there, nice people that run that place, and I told them, that we wanted them, and they saved them for us, and we wound up buying them. Now I bought them for scrap, but most of what I wound up with in them was the effort of getting them out there. We took semis up there and machinery and several men, and it took us a while to get things out. But these are, I'll probably keep one of them, but these are available. Now I talked to Dom, one of our fellow HCA members. If you're listening, I do have the idler. I just realized I got an idler assembly he's got a 15B he's thinking about fixing up into a shovel. And that's the idler assembly for the crowd that mounts right up inside for tensioning the chain that operates the crowd drum. The crowd drum is on these 15Bs is back here, and it's driven off of a chain from the drawworks, and then that reeves up cable for running your stick in and out. And it's kind of a funny note. Dave Geis, another HCA member, and I from out in Nebraska needed one of them for his shovel quite a few years, probably 15, 18 years ago. And we took one off of that shovel front that's sitting there. And so it doesn't have one. But we took it out of there and we lifted it over old booms, and we worked for probably a couple hours just after we had to dig out under it to get it dropped down. And then we stuck a pipe through it or a bar and carried it out of there. What a job. But here you have it. These are new old stock. And Dom, if you're watching, I do have that. And I may have the crowd lagging that goes inside your machine too, to set that thing up as a shovel. He bought a nice 15B from Dean Wack out in Pennsylvania. So I just talked to him today. But
we're actually in the area that we call purgatory.
Yeah.
These are all the pieces of equipment that they might have a hope of becoming something again one day.
Yeah, see, now a lot of these conveyors, we had talked about these, but we have our sights on setting up another little gravel plant. This one right here is the feed conveyor for that little crushing plant that we've been looking at. And we're gonna, believe it or not, we're gonna fix this up and get it going again and put it back to work for the feed conveyor on that little gravel plant, little crushing plant. So, and these, actually all these trucks right here, they all run, and it's a shame, like that Brockway, we need to build another building, put it inside. That's a decent truck. That Mack fire truck, it runs, but we're going to pull the cab off of it and use it on a restoration of a truck, LTL Mack. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the support we've got for the Historical Construction Equipment Association, and spread the word. We're out here, we're trying to get people, and it's if you're listening, if you get in the area and want to stop in, and we like to show people stuff. Like-minded people like to look at this stuff. And but thanks for all the support, and we'll see you next week.
I would also like to thank everybody for tuning in. I also have a couple of memberships. Last week I did contact one of our viewers about a free membership to the HCEA, so he will be on the winner list for the Equipment Echoes. I've got two more that I need to give out, so I will be contacting somebody, one of our Facebook viewers. I will be contacting to give them a free 1-year membership to the HCA. Includes 4 issues of Equipment Echoes. And also check out our new YouTube channel. I just got it posted last week. Harry Young chapter of the HCEA. I will also be posting, as we do these videos in the wintertime, I'll also be posting them on here or on the YouTube page, along with some other miscellaneous videos that we can come up with during the week. So everybody, we will catch you later, and once again, tune into our YouTube channel to see what we've got going on.